In the late 1500s, the world was changing faster than ever before. Europe was caught in the fever of exploration. Nations were sending their bravest sailors across uncharted oceans, seeking new lands, wealth, and power. Among them was England, determined to expand its influence and plant its flag on the new world across the Atlantic. It was a time of ambition, hope, and relentless risk, at a time when survival itself was not guaranteed. It was during this age of exploration that one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries was born, the story of the lost colony of Roanoke. This wasn't a legend or a fairy tale. It was a real colony, built by real people, men and women who risked everything in pursuit of a new beginning. Yet their story ends not with triumph, but with silence. A silence that echoes through more than 4 centuries, leaving behind one haunting question: what happened to the lost colony? Let us journey back to the summer of 1587. A fleet of English ships landed on Roanoke Island, just off the coast of present-day North Carolina. Leading the group was John White, an artist and explorer appointed governor of the new colony. Alongside him were over 100 settlers, men, women, and children who dreamed of a new life in America. These weren't just adventurers. They were families, ordinary people with extraordinary courage, ready to face the unknown. Among them was White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, and her husband Ananias. It was here, in this strange and wild land, that Eleanor gave birth to a daughter, Virginia Dare, the very first English child born in the New World. The early days of the colony were filled with both hope and hardship. The settlers worked to build shelters, clear land, and plant crops. They tried to form alliances with nearby Native American tribes, but tensions soon rose. Some tribes welcomed them cautiously, while others viewed them as invaders threatening their land and way of life. Food was scarce, the weather was unpredictable, and the challenges of survival grew heavier with each passing week. As supplies dwindled, John White made a difficult decision. He would return to England to gather reinforcements and fresh provisions for the struggling colony. It was a heartbreaking choice, leaving behind his daughter, son-in-law, and infant granddaughter, but White believed it was the only way to ensure their survival. He promised to return quickly. But fate intervened. Back in England, war broke out between England and Spain. The seas became dangerous, and ships were urgently needed for battle. White pleaded for ships to take him back to Roanoke, but his requests were delayed again and again. Months turned into years. For 3 long years, he was trapped in England, haunted by the thought of his family waiting for him across the ocean. Finally, in 1590, John White secured passage and set sail for Roanoke. His heart must have been filled with both excitement and dread as the ship neared the island. What would he find? Would his daughter and granddaughter be there to welcome him? Would the settlers have survived? But when White stepped onto the shores of Roanoke, he was met not with joy, but with chilling silence. The colony was deserted. Over 100 men, women, and children gone without a trace. The houses had been dismantled. The fort had been taken down carefully, not destroyed, suggesting the settlers left willingly or in an organized manner. There were no bodies, no signs of battle, no evidence of massacre. It was as if the entire colony had simply vanished into thin air. The only clue was a single word carved into a wooden post, Croatoan. White searched desperately for more signs. He found zero etched into a tree, but nothing else. No letters, no hidden messages, no explanation. To him, the word Croatoan likely referred to Croatoan Atlanta, now known as Hatteras, Atlanta, where a friendly tribe lived. But storms and dwindling resources prevented him from searching further. Heartbroken and defeated, White was forced to sail back to England. He would never see his daughter, his granddaughter, or the settlers again. Their fate remains one of the greatest mysteries of history. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? For centuries, historians and researchers have debated countless theories. Some believe the settlers did indeed moved to Croatoan Island and integrated with the local tribe. This would explain the absence of violence and why the word was carved as a message. Others suggest they may have tried to sail back to England on their own, only to be lost at sea. Some argue they could have moved inland, seeking new land and safety, but were ultimately wiped out by disease, starvation, or hostile tribes. And then, there are darker theories. Some whisper that the colony was wiped out in secret massacres. Others claim the settlers fell victim to supernatural forces, cursed lands, or ancient spirits guarding the territory. While these tales may sound fantastical, they persist because no definitive evidence has ever been uncovered. For John White, the pain was personal beyond words. He had crossed an ocean not just for exploration, but for family. His daughter Eleanor, his son-in-law, and his granddaughter Virginia Daria, who had become a symbol of hope for the colony, all vanished into history. Imagine being a father, returning after years of separation, only to find your family's home abandoned, their belongings gone, and no clue to their fate. The silence would be deafening. Over the years, archaeologists have uncovered hints and fragments of European tools found among Native American sites, artifacts that suggest some settlers may have lived on with local tribes. Yet none of this has provided the final answer. The mystery of Roanoke remains unresolved. But perhaps that is why the story endures. The lost colony represents more than just a historical event. It embodies the risks of human ambition, the fragility of survival, and the haunting reality that not all stories find closure. History is often written by victories, but Roanoke reminds us that history is also shaped by disappearances, by moments that leave behind questions, not answers. The story of Roanoke has inspired countless books, television shows, and even supernatural theories. But beneath all the speculation lies a sobering truth: these were real people. Families. Children. Men and women who dreamed of a better future. Their disappearance is not just a historical puzzle, it is a human tragedy. And yet, it is also a legacy. Virginia Dare, though vanished, remains a symbol in American folklore. Her name has been carried through the centuries, tied to legends of survival, innocence, and mystery. The colony's silence continues to echo, reminding us of the dangers and hopes of exploration. So, what happened to the lost colony? The truth may forever be hidden, buried beneath centuries of time and earth. Perhaps one day, new discoveries will bring answers. Or perhaps, some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved, kept alive by curiosity, imagination, and the endless desire to seek the unknown. The lost colony of Roanoke was not just a settlement. It was a dream carved into the wilderness. And though the dream ended in silence, its story endures, whispered across history, asking us to remember and to wonder.